What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Gonna talk about the fight tonight between Kownacki versus Chris Arreola. Got two heavyweights battling it out in Brooklyn Barclays Center. It should be a very entertaining fight. The key to this fight is can Chris Arreola weather the early storm? When the first round begins, Kownacki is going to jump on him. He's going to jump on him. He's going to be throwing punches, heavy punches, and trying to land and hurt Arreola right off the bat. Can Arreola withstand the early barrage? That's going to be the key. Arreola's only chance to win this fight is to take this fight in the second half and hopefully be able to wear down Kownacki and maybe get a stoppage in the second half of the fight. Now, you notice I'm gonna talk about two fights that Kownacki fought. His last two fights, actually, and then this is gonna be the blueprint for Chris Arreola if he has any chance of winning this fight. The first fight was Chris Martin fight. My bad. I mean Chris Martin. Charles Martin. Prince Charles Martin, as they call him. In that fight with Kownacki, it was a lot of bad blood leading up to the fight, a lot of trash talking and to the fight. And as you know, before the fight, when the referee was giving the instructions, they were both, mean mugging each other. And Prince Charles Martin looked away at the referee after maybe about a 20-second stare. And I think Paulie Malignaggi, who was commentating the fight on Showtime, said, that's a sign of weakness, him looking away from Kownacki and looking to the referee. And I guess he was basically saying that, don't be surprised if he gets knocks out in this fight. But Charles Martin actually put on a good performance and lost a unanimous decision to Kownacki. And the point that I'm trying to make is Kownacki jumped on Charles Martin and hit him with some unbelievable shots, straight right hands, straight lefts, and he really hit him with a lot of head shots. And a lot of people thought Charles Martin was going to go into the fetal position like he did in the Anthony Joshua fight, but he stood firm and took those punches and was able to fire back. And the point I'm trying to make in that fight compared to the Gerald Washington fight was Gerald Washington wasn't able to withstand the early barrage by Kownacki. He folded like a cheap suit, and he ended up getting stopped early in that fight. And that's going to be the key to Chris Arreola. I think he has a better chin than Gerald Washington, but does he have a good enough chin like a Charles Martin to withstand that early barrage and take it into the second half of the fight? As we know, Chris Arreola has been stopped before. Bermain Stavern, who's a pretty good puncher at heavyweight, stopped him in the first fight and the rematch, ended up knocking out Chris Arreola. So he has been knocked out by heavyweight punchers, guys that considered above average punchers. Now Vitaly Klitschko never knocked him out, but Vitaly Klitschko never, unlike his younger brother, never was known as a hard puncher at heavyweight. He fought, he fought a couple other guys. He fought Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is the hardest puncher in heavyweight division right now, arguably the hardest puncher in heavyweight history. I put him above Ernie Shavers, in my opinion. He was able to take his punishment, take his punches, but it's a caveat to that. Deontay Wilder hurt his hand in that fight, so we don't know him fighting half of that fight with a hand injury. Did that take away from his devastating power, which was enabled Chris Arreola to not get knocked out? He ended up getting stopped in that fight. He never was knocked out, unconscious like a lot of Deontay Wilder's opponents. So that's going to be the $61 million, the $61,000 question. Does Chris Arreola have a strong enough chin to withstand the early barrage? Now you've noticed leading up to this fight, Chris Arreola has said that he's, if he doesn't win this fight, he's going to retire. He said if he doesn't win this fight, he sees no reason to stay in the sport. So that's something that's already in the back of his head. So when he's in that first round, when he's taking those punches, which he is, because he's going, like I say, Kownacki is a fast starter. He's going to jump on him. He's going to test that chin early. And Chris Arreola doesn't have the greatest defense, so he's going to test that chin early. Will he, in the back of his head, say, man, you don't need this, man. You already got 1 foot in the ring and 1 foot out the ring, saying you're going to retire after this fight? Will he kind of submit to that, to that subconscious way of thinking and crater and give it up early in that fight, that's going to be the key. But if he can get it to the second half of that fight, that's his best chance to win this fight. Because, you know, as you know, they did a weigh-in yesterday, and Kownacki came in at 266 pounds. Way higher than, like I say, his highest weight in a while. He came in much heavier than he did in the Gerald Washington fight, much heavier than he did in the Charles Martin fight. Well, Chris Arreola and his team need to take that into account and try to get this fight into the second half, get it past round 8, or maybe that extra weight will come into play. He start gassing out, carrying that extra weight, start wearing down, and then he can possibly take over in the second half of the fight and maybe get a stoppage in the second half of that fight. Now, when you look at those guys, both of these guys are good punchers. The one thing about Kownacki, his punches seem like they're coming real slow in slow motion, but they have a devastating effect. When you look at him, it don't look like he's throwing them with a lot of behind. It look like he's just really trying to putting a lot of his energy behind his punches. It seems like he's just free flowing with his punches, and it's almost like he's throwing punches underwater or something. You know, it's not a lot of behind the that's the best word, behind them. But when they land, it seems like they have devastating effect on his opponent. And Chris Arreola, in contrast, leans into his punches. He leans in. When he throws his punches, like he's leaning in. It's like he's it's like he leans into his punches. He's like he's leaning in, leaning forward. Like he's throwing his punches and he's putting all his weight behind his front foot, trying to land his punches, man. It's a different style. His punches have devastating effect on his opponents too. So it's going to be a very, very entertaining fight. I think what's going to end up happening is I'm looking for Adam Kownacki to stop Chris Arreola in round 4. I think he's going to jump on him early. I think Chris Arreola is going to show some fight. I don't think he's going to cave in. I think he's going to withstand it, but I just think the accumulation of punches and the onslaught, I think he's going to it's going to eventually get to Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola's been in a lot of wars. If this was a little bit more of a fresher Chris Arreola pre Bermain Stavern, and right around the time he fought Adamic, he lost that fight in a very, very entertaining fight. Round about when he fought Adam, when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, I think it'd probably be a 50-50 fight if you catch the Chris Arreola at that point. The guy that knocked out Chaz Witherspoon, and the guy that was an up and coming fighter, on the precipice of becoming the first Latino heavyweight champion before he lost to Vitaly Klitschko via unanimous decision. If it was that Chris Arreola, I think he would have a shot. But this Chris Arreola been in a lot of wars, been taking a lot of punishment. I think Kownacki with his